guys, it's me Wish, and today we will be learning how you can show directions between two different places using polylines in Google Maps in Android. So let's get started. First of all, I will create a layout that will have a maps fragment and a button. Alright, so create a new layout resource file. I'll just call it main activity. Now in here, let's create a Google map fragment. I'll just put the height to 0 dp because I want it to take all the space available, and for that I'll set up the layout weight to 1. So what it does is, if there is nothing below it, it'll take the full space, and as soon as we add something, see, it shrinks up and takes the remaining available space. Let's say get direction. Okay, now let's give it an idea of map frag, and we also need a name attribute, and the name is, as you can see here, you can just do this. And oh, you also need a you also need a dependency. Now this dependency I've already added and synced the project, so before you start this project you need to add this dependency and then sync the project and then start making the layout. I'll just give a link in the description below where you can find this dependency. Alright, so now we have our layout. Now we'll just go to our Java and create a new activity. And before we start coding in Java, I'll show you this helpers that I've created. These are fetch URL, data parser, point URL, on task. You don't need to go in details of this thing. You can if you want to, but what it does is it is abstracting a lot of things like creating a URL, getting the URL, parsing the data, parsing the polylines, parsing the geo coordinates. So if you're in a hurry, you can skip this and you can just clone this repository from my GitHub and you can start creating your project. So but these classes are how I'm making things work in the background, so I'll just hide it for now. So let's create a new class and call it main activity. This extends the app compare activity, and now we'll override the onCreate method. We will set the content view to main activity, and now we will add references to our map and button. So let's add a Google map and let's call it map, and button, let's call it button get direction. Now button get direction is, what was the ID? I think the ID was get direction itself. Alright, now for the map fragment, we write map fragment, give it any name, and I forget what the actual syntax was, so just let me check. Oh, it's just, what was the ID? The ID was just map frag. Now we need to typecast it into map fragment, so let's just typecast it. Alright, so now we have our map fragment. Now in our map fragment we do get map as async and add this. Now this is showing error because we have not implemented the on map ready callback, so just press Alt and enter and make main activity implement com.google and this on map ready callback. Alright, now we have our onMapReady callback, and here we assign the map to the map we are getting in this method to our global map variable. So we just assign it. Alright, so now we have our map ready. Now what we will do is we will add two markers in two different places, and then whenever we click our button get direction, we will fetch the directions and we will plot it in the map. So for that, let's just create two marker options. Let's just call it place 1 and another one with place 2. We will initialize these two variables. I've just copied it. Let me just find that. Okay, here it is. So these are two places nearby me. So we have initialized two places. Now you need to import lat-lang, so just click on it, and whenever this option session pops up, just press Alt Enter. It will be automatically imported. Now we also need to add a polyline. Let's just call it current polyline. Alright, so now let's get started with our calling the Google Directions API and getting the response part. Now I'll show you the format of how we can call the Google Directions API. Now this is the format: HTTPS, the API, and the return type format, the origin, and the destination, and there are a bunch of other parameters that will be in more detail in this page. So now this is the API. You just put output format, that is we will be using JSON, and then some parameters. And the required parameters are, you need to add an origin and a destination and your Google Maps key. So if you don't have your Google Maps key, you can just click on this link, get a key, and then get your key. Now in origin there are various formats here. You have a place ID, you have a latitude and longitude, and you also have the name of the places. So in this tutorial I'll be using the latitude and longitude, so let's get started and call the API. Now first I'll create a getURL method, string URL. Now this getURL method will take some parameters like place 1 and place 2. Let's just pass the position of place 1 and position of place 2 and the mode. Are you driving or are you walking? So I'll just say driving for now. You can customize this according to your application. Now what I want this getURL to do is I want it to take the parameters that I've passed, that are the positions of two places and the driving mode, and the mode that you are driving or walking. You can also set it to walking, and then return a URL that we can call. So I have already created this getURL, so I'll just copy it from here. Alright, now we have our getURL ready. So now we have this URL that can be called to get the directions between two places. Now what I'm doing in this getURL is as you can see, I'm taking a origin, I'm taking a destination, and I'm taking the direction mode. Now and then I'm just setting origin equals to origin latitude and origin longitude, and destination equals to destination latitude and destination longitude, and similarly I'm also adding direction mode, and finally I'm concatenating these parameters and then adding them to our API. Alright, also remember this output format, parameters, and this get string that I'm calling this is required. So you can comment this thing direction mode, but you definitely require output format and parameters that are origin, destination, and your API key. So I'll just uncomment this for now. Alright, now we have our URL. We just need to call the URL and get that response and parse the response and then show it in our map. So now that is a lot of work, but now if you really want to implement this quickly, it'll take you some time to understand what is happening behind the scenes, what are all the parameters, and uh, what's all is going on, because a lot of data is returned. So what I suggest is, if you want to do this quick, you just use these files that I've created. It is in my GitHub. You can download it from there, and then just do it simply with a few lines of code. Okay, so in this tutorial we'll do it the quick way, and I'll not go into the details. So what you can do is you just say new fetch URL, and here you pass the context, that is main activity dot this, and you execute. Now in execute, the parameters are first parameter is the URL, and then there is a mode. Are you walking or are you driving? So I'll just call it driving. Alright, this is all. Now what happens is, we are just calling the URL. Now what happens after the URL is called and we have the data? So for that I have created a task loaded what is it called? I'm forgetting the name. Interface. So you just implement the interface, call it task loaded, and just press all enter and implement the methods. Implement the on task done callback method. Now in this on task done, what we receive is a polyline option. So what we do is we say if current polyline is not equals to null, we say current polyline dot remove. Now if it is null, we just add a polyline to our map, now this is showing error because we are getting object type, and this it requires a polyline options type, so we can just typecast it. Now we are all good to go. So what are the things that we have gone through in this is, first of all, we got the map fragment from the XML, and then we created two static places. These are just locations near me. Now in your actual app you won't be getting this like this. You probably won't be, because that won't be much useful. There will be markers and stuff. You are probably getting your geo coordinates through your markers, and finally we are just creating a URL that we can call using this get URL method, and at last, after the URL is generated, we are fetching that URL. Now you can go into the details of this fetch URL thing. Just call these two things and you are good to go. Yeah, and just add this on task done method. Alright, now what we do is, let me just go through this. We have done this. We have added a map fragment. We have added two places. We have created a URL that we can call now, and then we have fetched the URL. After the URL is got, we will get the polyline option in this on task done method, and after we get it, we just show it in our map. Alright, this is good to go. And yeah, one more thing, you just need to add internet permission. Okay, and also you need to add your Google Maps key after you get it in your metadata, and you also need to add a Google Play Services version. Alright, I think we are ready to go and we can test it, so let's just run this thing. Oh, I have not defined the activity in our applications. Also, let me just define it. We will add this as our main activity and the launcher activity. I'm sorry, this is not action, this is category. and this is a launcher activity, so we'll just say launcher. Alright, this is it. Now we run it. The shortcut is Shift F10 if you want to run. I just run it in my emulator. Alright, so as you can see, I didn't go through much details of how we are getting the data and how we are parsing it. I just showed you how you can create a URL and already use the classes that I've already created, and then just show it in your map. Now if you need some more custom functionalities, you might want to go into this fetch URL thing and then change the color, the width, and what else of everything of the polylines. If not, this will just work fine. Alright, I think this is installed. Okay, we have an error straight away. Alright, let me just debug it. Why would program be fun without error, right? No errors, no fun. You gotta fix some problems, man. You gotta fix some problems. So, what is the error? Didn't find class OC main activity on path. What are you talking about? Alright, I think I figured out the error, and that is this main activity is not in the default package. So you just move it here, but let this be out of the direction helpers, as we will not be using the direction helpers in this thing. Alright, we refactor it. Now it is inside this package com.thecodecity.maps direction, and all our helpers are in this direction helpers thing. Alright, so now as you can see, this dot is automatically added. Now just build this again. Oh man, such a silly mistake. Oh, it's already run. What was I thinking? I wasn't even paying attention. Alright, now we will just see where the markers are. Where are the markers? Oops, I forgot to add the markers. I just initialized the places, place 1 and place 2, but I didn't add them on the map. So I'll just add this, place 1, and I'll also add place 2. Alright, now let's run it again. Okay, where was it? Okay, so now our markers have been added. Let's zoom in. So here I am. As you can see, the directions between these two places are already shown. Because why? Because we just fetched the URL. After the URL is fetched, this is called, and then the map is shown. Now if you want to show the directions according to the user's requirement, not just directly, you just add it on a user action. Just call this thing on a user action. For me, I forgot to do that, so I'll just add a on-click listener, and in the on-click I'll be doing the stuff that we did involuntarily. Alright, now let's run this again. Now the directions will be shown. Now the polylines will be shown only when the user clicks the button. So it depends on the user, it is not shown immediately. So let's just check this again. Alright, it's the same thing. I'm from Nepal, in case you guys didn't know. And living in Kathmandu at the moment. Good place. Alright, now this is one place and this is another. Now let's click on get direction. Alright, as you can see, it works pretty fine. So for this thing, if you just need to show directions, you can just do that with just these 2 lines of code, and all these direction helpers are already created. You can download it from my GitHub. Now I didn't write this code, I changed it according to some requirements. I added a direction mode and the polylines thickness and color and stuff. Now this is also not actually fully mine. I don't know where I got it from, so I'll be pushing it to the GitHub, so you can download it from there. Alright, this is it guys. Hit a thumbs up if this helped you, and click subscribe maybe, whatever you wanna do. Alright, till next time, happy coding.